2024.
Call to order, time 6:01. Members present. Aaron Sherrick, Kevin Myers, Zion Hickman, Chris Moritz, Chair. Public participation.
Vicki Dishon, 1108 Hillcrest Drive. On tonight's agenda for each committee, there are minutes to be approved for meetings which were held by the 2022-2023 council committees. Since 5 out of the 7 2024-2025 committee members did not serve on the 2022-2023 committees, I am requesting that the former committee members sign off their approval to the minutes, with council as a whole then approving them. This same procedure was done back in November of 2023 with the final meeting minutes of the ad hoc committee for hiring a clerk.
I'll go one step further and ask that when you're working on the rules for your ad hoc committee that you consider making that something permanent for future years.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we're going to skip the approval of the minutes then, right?
Do we need to send them to full council then? How did we do that for ad hoc?
What Miranda had done is she had the minutes prepared, which she already has that done, and then attached to it there was a sheet that said these minutes have hereby been reviewed and approved by the name of the committee, ad hoc committee, service committee, and then there's a line, and then the individual committee members' names are typed underneath, and then they sign. And then once all that signing has been done for all these minutes, then that's presented at a council meeting, and council as a whole approves the minutes that have been approved by the committee members.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I could, following Robert's rules though, does the body itself not need to approve them, the current body? So after those members signed off, wouldn't this body then need to, of each committee, need to approve them rather than council as a whole?
Oh, we could do that. That would be fine. I know it was going by.
Council as a whole, because the ad hoc committee no longer existed.
Okay.
Probably is why we did it that way.
All right.
So for each of these, my thought is it
That'd
should
be
be
great.
each individual committee could do exactly what you're saying, but do them one by one rather than as a whole.
Right.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I like it.
Yeah,
Is-
that's better.
Are you going to facilitate getting a hold of people to get their signatures? Perfect.
Thank you, Miranda.
Any open projects going on right now?
Not that I see.
If I could have one more, Mr. Chair?
Yeah. I'm good. Public participation again? Anybody? Don't see any, so moving on from there.
You can adjourn.
Adjourn,
6:05.
6:05.
January 4th, 2024.
I call the Health and Safety Committee meeting at 6:06 p.m. Members present are C. Aaron Sherrick, Kevin Myers, James Me, and myself, Vicki Dishon, as chair. Public participation. See none. We'll go to open projects. Now, I will say that I sat down on my open projects list and went through things that need to be taken off. Oh, I'm sorry, Kurt.
I totally forgot about this the last meeting, or the search committee. You guys need to pick your vice chairs.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
Thanks for.
Yes, thank you. Well, then we'll go back with the Health and Safety Committee, and I'll, entertain a motion?
Or you can just choose, I think it's what we've done in the past, is
Oh.
that you just choose who you wanted to run it when you were absent.
Is there anybody that would be interested?
If they don't, I will, but if they want it, don't have it.
Just say what I was gonna say.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, we've got Kevin.
Oh, you have to be on.
Silly rules.
Okay, so Kevin Myers is going to be the, what's your title?
Vice chair.
Vice chair.
Assistant to the chairperson.
All right. Yeah, and I even had that written here.
Assistant to the regional director.
Okay, back to open projects. I don't know if maybe, rather than my going over my list, is if I just ask that if everybody on the committee would look at their open projects list, and then at the next meeting, we sit down and go over items to be removed. Personally, I know these are kept. Even when they're updated, Miranda keeps the old on documents on demand. Because I know I had mentioned once before about, well, we could remove this, and then someone said, well, there's history there though. And if you remove it, then there goes the history.
I don't mind removing the history. I think it's more important than anything that we're still working on or
I was
might
gonna
need to
say,
work
some of
on.
it's stuff that is totally reoccurring.
Yeah.
And so the second you take it off, it takes out all the steps that you're also, and it's on there, but you're also still going. So there's still something, so if it's in the open projects, you never know when it's gonna hit.
Pretty much things
Like
that need to come up again, but
the water
like you
line
said, there's so
stuff,
much of that that's
option.
done,
Well, when you,
completed.
Like Dora.
and I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, Dora is one of those that comes up, but, and this is just my personal opinion, like on the Health and Safety Committee, we have Dora, and that's all it says. Then over to the history, it's the acceptance of the Dora. And that was approved on April 19th, 2022. My thought is, we're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That whole thing
that
should go
one
off,
should
and
be-
I feel when another issue comes up that deals with Dora, it's referred to committee, and I personally would like to see, and Miranda is doing this is what's happened previously, is when we refer these items, we put, like here, this one says Dora, but then it goes on to say applications. It gives a little more reason what it's for. Like here's one on here that says ownership of Horseshoe Bar. I have gone through minutes, I have listened to audio recordings. I have no idea why the ownership of the Horseshoe Bar was referred to the Health and Safety Committee. It doesn't say for what,
Unless it was a liquor license, it
It was a
shouldn't have been.
liquor
but it
license.
never talked about liquor
Right.
license.
Well,
So,
and things like that should be off already.
And the
That's
reason we
like
left
Dora,
Dora
when
on
we
there
finally
was
got
we weren't,
signs up, should have gone off.
the reason we left Dora on there is we weren't done dealing with the signs yet. And I don't know if we are done dealing with the signs yet
Oh.
to verify that they're all where the application says they should be.
And they were there.
I think there's like only maybe 3 areas where the 3 more signs need to be put up, but no, the vast majority is up and they look great.
But yeah, that was why it was still on there, was it wasn't complete. Once it's complete, then we knew that we didn't have to, versus we get to these last 3 and somebody comes in and says, no, you can't hang that sign in front of my business, or, you know.
But I agree with you, we should look through them in the next meeting.
I-
Go through them line by line.
I mean, I've gone through the 4 committees that I'm on, and I think you will be surprised at how much is going to come off.
Oh, yeah.
And that's still on there, occupancy permits. April 5th, 2016. I'm sorry, but if you haven't done something since 2016, I'm going to say scratch it. I mean, obviously, it was not that pressing of a nature, and if it comes to be a pressing nature, then it's just re-referred to the committee. I would like to see at the end of at least our term, I'd like to see the end of each year of our terms, or of our term, that when we're given this list, I mean, I'm gonna work on this list.
Would it be fair also, if I could, to ask the administration to take a look at the list and you guys note for each committee, but specifically since we're in this committee now, note the things that you would like left on there or that you know that are things you want to be working on?
Sure. That's great.
That way we don't remove something that you've got plans to introduce or talk about.
Jim?
I've been looking at the list.
Good.
And so through talking with some other people, I seen that fire department staffing was on here. And we had the William Kramer report. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to know how we're doing. So I would like the administration to get a hold of William Kramer and ask him how much it would cost for him to do an update report on how we've been doing for the last 2.5 to 3 years.
Well, it was $15,000, I think, is what the cost of the report was.
I thought it was 10, but since we've already given him 10, maybe he can do it for a couple grand.
Well, the purpose of his report was to do an evaluation on all
EMS.
things related to our city, the size of our city, the staffing, and for him to come up with a consideration of what the staffing should be. Nothing's really changed, our population hasn't changed, things like that. So he's going to give you the exact same report that he already gave you.
Okay,
So-
well, we got the fire department, wanted to add more firemen and EMS. When we went through that day, they mentioned that. But we're no experts, there's no experts here on this, but William Kramer is.
The report said, though,
Yeah, that's
what the
what-
optimal numbers were and then what the feasible numbers were financially, so.
For the
Yeah.
amount of calls that's going out, the
Correct,
amount of fires.
which have gone up every year since.
Right.
So, I guess the point I'm making is,
Are we within that range of the Kramer report?
yeah, I think it said minimum 6 and maximum 10 on duty. And he made mention of the fact that obviously you're not going to be able to afford to put 10 on duty a day.
Right.
But a town our size with the call volume we have could sustain 10 just for that if you weren't looking at the financial aspect of it.
Do you have a copy of Kramer's report, Jim?
Not anymore, I had it
I've got it.
years ago.
It's-
Would you like?
It's on the city site.
It is? Okay, great. Did you hear Mr.
It's on the
Starner?
city site.
He said it's on the city's website.
I just looked at it today. It's on the city site. I didn't read it. It was at the end of the day, but it's there.
It's like 50 pages long. I
Yeah.
know.
It's still very valuable information.
Yeah,
It's not,
but I just wanted to know how we're doing compared to how we was doing. If adding the firemen helped, or should we add more, or should we do what?
I think that information is going to come from your fire chief and his reports that he compiles to say, what's our average time from the time a call comes in till the time that call's answered till we've arrived on scene, and making sure how many times are we getting a call that comes in when there's nobody to respond right away. I think that's really what we need to look at. Are we letting people sit there and wait because we don't have enough people? And I don't think that's happening that often.
Do we need an expert for that?
No. My opinion is the fire chief can give you that information.
So, yeah, we should have that in proof.
He submits reports to us monthly, and that information's in those reports.
Kurt?
Kurt Fankhauser, 616 Prospect. The original Kramer report had a bunch of charts and money numbers that were ran, which I actually put a lot of that together originally and gave to Bill Kramer. And, I just, being 3 years, 4 years in on the EMS thing, maybe a follow-up report can be done that says here's what we originally had projected on what our costs were going to be. We have done this for 3-4 years now. Here's where we actually ended up being on those costs. And there's a couple reasons why, there's probably 3 reasons why I would say let's at least get a follow-up report, whether, I don't necessarily know if Bill Kramer's even doing it anymore, but one, we have a a renewal with the townships this year, I believe. And I believe that our costs, because of COVID and inflation and things, and the fire union going through a different contract, I believe that our costs for labor have increased since the original projection numbers back in 2020. Two, we should have, I mean, you should have a follow-up study saying, you know, how did this thing work out? You know, is the money coming in like we said it is, or is this thing just, you know, we should have something so that when people look back 10, 20, 30 years from now, they can say, whatever happened after the initial report. And then there's going to be a solid thing documented that you can point to and say, well, this is what it is, this is what it ended up being. And the third thing is the fire department, when we took that tour, they're saying that we can add more firemen and it's going to be cheaper. So I think for doing due diligence for the fire union and the firemen, let's at least look into what they're saying on can more firemen be added, or can something, you know, let's follow what they're saying and see if it, you know, can be what they're saying is right.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make any sense at all?
Can I reply?
Sure.
Are you saying to pay somebody to do a study or to have?
I don't know. I don't know.
My thoughts are to have exactly what you're asking for, be put together by our fire chief. And that should be part of his annual report anyway. But maybe to compile it just for the understanding of, to compare it to the initial Kramer report
Well,
and to answer the questions that you posed.
I'm sure the fire chief can make up a report, but I'm saying, you know, get a professional consultant, the same one that we used previously, to come in and do a follow-up study. I mean, it just makes sense that you would anyway. I mean, anytime you do some major task, you're going to want to have a report on how that proposed thing that you did ended up actually being. And I don't know if the fire chief doing his own report would be, I mean, maybe he can have a report and then Kramer can come in and he can take that report and put that within what he finds.
I don't doubt the reasoning behind it. I just don't see spending another $15,000.
I don't know. We don't even know what
That's
Kramer
it.
costs. I mean, he might say, I already was in there, and,
My request was
We
a
can-
phone call to see how much it would cost, that's all.
I mean, we're just thinking, or I'm just thinking that day that we took a tour through the fire station, they said, we know that we can add more and get rid of some of this overtime and stuff. So whatever the committee decides, the committee
And
will
I'm-
decide to do, but I'm.
That's your job.
Ms. Dennison,
Make the call.
Sean, I'm
That's your
sorry.
job to decide if it's-
My
Yes,
neighbor's
and
here.
Kurt, I apologize for not referring to you as Mr. Fankhauser. I'm going to have to get used to being more professional in the recognizing. Mr. Me,
I'm not proposing to spend $15,000 or $10,000. I'm just figuring we already give him so much money, maybe he could do it give us a deal, you know? That's what I'm asking.
One thing, I really think with that township contract renewal, it's going to be in the city's best interest to have some kind of report that wasn't produced by a Bucyrus City employee, so that you can go to the townships and say, hey, here we had a professional study done. This is, because I think if you really look into our labor costs, the townships may need to be charged just a little more. I'm not saying overcharge them or nothing, just whatever is fair.
Adequate, fair.
Based on what our increased costs have ended up being. That's all I'm saying, is the professional study would be your due diligence of showing that you could go into those meetings and have a good argument.
so am I gathering that we're looking to either the mayor or the service safety director to make a phone call to Mr. Kramer just to find out what a charge would be for a follow-up report?
Yeah, and I think to add to that, to what Mr. Fankhauser said, and what Mr. Mead's asking for is, it's not the same type of study, because we're not looking to take something over. It's more of a, how are we doing, like you said, and help us figure out what the fair number is to go and ask when we're asking for a new contract.
And are we still on the right numbers for the firefighters?
Well, that number's gonna go up because the call volume has increased every year.
But that's what I'm saying.
If
Are we in the right
that's the
area?
case, that's
Yeah.
the case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? And then you'll get back with the committee once you, thank you, appreciate it. Any more public participation?
We're going to discuss, what is it? 53-2023, supposed to be in health and safety.
What is the 53?
Amending, supplementing section 1355.99 entitled Penalty under the Charter 1355 entitled International Property Maintenance Code under the Title 7 entitled Housing and Property Maintenance Code under the Part 13 entitled Building Codes of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Bucyrus.
So your committee approved that, and that's in council as a whole now.
Okay, did that?
It hasn't passed yet, but we had their
I
second
thought
reading
that
last
came-
night.
I thought that came back to committee.
No. No, we
Okay,
already did the second reading, so.
Yeah.
okay.
Yes, it's on the second page of the project, open project update.
Okay.
Yeah, updates to the property maintenance code. First reading of ordinance 53-2023 was done on 12/19/23. The second reading was done on 1/2/24. So then the third reading will be our next council meeting, which I think is the 16th.
Okay, because I have questions, so.
We can discuss it though, can't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
your question?
Yeah, just, so I went on the International Property Maintenance Code, and I tried to look up section 107 of 2012. So I guess my first question is 2012, this is 2023, why are we 12 years behind, or
That is the
24?
most recent International Property Maintenance Code.
Isn't it updated every 3 or 4 years, was what I was reading?
I have not seen any substantial updates since 2012, but, I mean, we can look at that.
I looked and I tried to look up section 107, and I couldn't get in without a subscription.
I can get in, I'll show you.
Because I would like to know, I'd like to see that, because
Yeah, I can.
it says if a person, firm, corporation to whom the notice violation has been served as provided by section 107,
Right, it's section 107 talks about you either have to serve them by certified mail, posting at their property. Those are the different ways that you have to give proper notice.
okay.
I'll get you.
I just didn't, I want to know what that was.
Yeah, oh, I'll get you. And I'll show you how I get it. I don't know. I just Google it and I can get it.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Because I went on the actual internet, I tried to do it right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't go through like Westlaw or one of the, like the legal research ones. I just use the public access stuff and, I don't know. I'll show you.
Okay.
I have a question for Mr. Mead.
Sure.
Do you have any issues with it that you want to see any substantial changes? Because the reason I ask is if we don't make any changes tonight, it goes for its final reading before this committee meets again.
I wouldn't know because you know, you really don't know if you don't know all the sections. See what I'm saying?
Brian, you want to just tell him what was changed?
Oh, it says right here, the
Yeah.
repeat offenders, it was a person or firm or corporation. It's the highlighted area, correct?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so historically.
So you added that in there?
Right, historically, we would have to provide a property owner with a notice. And then if the property owner comes into compliance, then we move on. And then, so it's especially like grass type issues. Their grass hasn't been mowed, it's, 3 feet tall. We go out, give them a notice, they mow the grass, and then a month later, although they've remedied that so we're not able to go to court, we're back you know, harassing people
It's for
or
repeat offenders.
encouraging them to mow their lawns.
Okay, let's talk about a situation then. So we allow only so many garbage bags set out for the garbage,
Mhm.
correct?
I think 6, yeah.
6.
I thought it was 3. Is it 6?
6.
Isn't it 3 for a single parent, person household?
6.
No, okay, 6.
Okay.
Let's see, and then they charge extra for more.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go ahead and mark it down and it comes on your water bill.
Trash bill.
Well, trash.
But what I was getting at was that I don't want to get into a catch-22. You have to give them an avenue to go to get rid of their stuff and fix their problem, not necessarily cut the grass, but move their garbage off the porch. And
Oh, for sure. So if you have a problem like that, yeah, your notice is always going to be, and you have so many days to comply, and you can call and request extensions, and typically we would like to work with people. And you say, hey, I'm working on so-and-so's house, renovating, there's going to be a dumpster and a load of drywall sitting in the parking lot for 3 weeks. Well, you know, those are understandable. These are more targeted at out-of-county landlords, property management companies that sort of just ignore us, ignore all of the notices, or those people that the landowners that we kind of know, and we're on and sending them repeat notices, and every time we send them a notice, they clean it up, and then 6 weeks later, they have a significant accumulation again. But it's not like, you know, the guy that's remodeling a house and has a one-time issue.
Or had one set of bad tenants that they just got
Right.
rid of. Or-
But it really
I've
wouldn't be a
had-
catch-22 in that instance, because we're not refusing to pick up their trash, we're just charging them more.
Yeah, I know.
So it's so I mean, that doesn't put the person with the inability to comply, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Cost them more.
yeah, it costs more.
Or they can get a dumpster somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I get what you're saying. So
But-
rather
but
than
see what I'm
take the
saying-
charge, you put 6 out, and then the next time you put 6 more out.
He
and so it
doesn't,
makes
he
it
doesn't want to put a
2
property owner in the position of not being able to comply,
Right.
which
Right.
makes perfect sense, yeah.
Right.
See, that's the catch-22.
Yeah, but we'll take all their trash.
Yeah, I know.
Then you charge them.
Okay, move on.
Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
You just ended.
Oh, I just ended?
Oh, yeah, you get to just do this one.
I just say what? The meeting is adjourned at
6:30.
6:30 PM.
Public Lands and Buildings Committee, January 4th, 2024.
I'm calling Public Lands and Buildings to order at 6:31 PM. Members present, Carolyn Shireman, Christopher Moritz, Zion Hickman, and myself, Sierra and Sherrick, as chair. Do we have any public participation? I knew we did.
Great, Thitoff. My address, phone number's on the sign-in sheet if anyone wants to contact me. As most of you know, I've been coming up here probably about the last year and a half, trying to get permission from the city and the mayor's office to put some walking, biking, hiking trails around the Pines Reservoir. And I know in that year and a half, there's been some shady dealing and some talk about selling the Pines Reservoir. I would kind of like to know if I'm wasting my time. If I'm wasting my time, I'll just drop it and leave it at that. So before I even say any more, I guess my question is, am I wasting my time?
Well, that was actually my question tonight, too. All right, so there's a group that came in and talked to us a few years ago, for everybody who wasn't here, called the Western Conservancy.
I think everybody pretty much knows the
Well,
story.
I mean, not everybody was here. We have all new players. Well, Bruce was here. And it was kind of really shady the way it was brought to us, but then they actually seemed to be on the up and up. And the ball got dropped because of the way things happened. We started working on it again and getting a hold of them, and somebody else on the committee decided they were going to be the ones to contact this person, and the ball got dropped again, and nobody else was able to converse with them because the other person, this was their thing, and nothing happened. So I was actually gonna ask if our new city service safety director would like to contact them and see if there's anything going on, if they had any ideas.
Let me interrupt you, Aaron.
Because if not, my next step was forget that and go on.
That was gonna be my idea, to just scratch the whole conservancy thing, because we went nowhere with it. He was in here one time, a couple of years ago, and he kind of got blown off, and I think he's pretty much said, heck with Bucyrus. So my idea was to just scratch the whole conservancy thing and just keep it to ourselves, basically.
I didn't want to be a jerk and write him off if it wasn't him writing us off, and it was
I think it's a little bit of
somebody
both.
here, you know, because there was a lot of people who kept putting their hands in, but it got to the point where literally the
I
ball
actually
was
had a
taken out
couple
of my court.
conversations with Joe Leslie myself. I kind of got the ball rolling again after it was pretty much stopped. But like I said, my question tonight is, am I wasting my time? 'Cause I'm tired of hearing whispering in the back about selling the pines. So,
No, that was one of my first things, was I wanted to see if we could contact, if he's done with us, cool, what's the next step? And did you have a group? And if he's not done with us, what all happened? Because I don't know. Like, it literally got taken out of my hands.
like I said again, are we gonna sell the pines? I know people have been hearing things, so,
Still has to come to committee, and I'm still against it.
yeah.
So, did you guys want to find out? So
I
we
would
can
like
figure out,
tonight to
or-
get permission from city council and the mayor's office to start blazing some trails out there in the next couple of months, to have this spring, so we can use that for a walking, hiking, biking trail. I'm volunteering my time. I'm gonna probably be putting some of my own money into it. I'm gonna get a group together. I've already got plans for some people to volunteer, but I don't wanna waste my time.
Is everybody else okay with Ray just going ahead and saying, forget it and taking over it?
Anything I do
Like,
out there,
Getting stuff done?
I will
Because
discuss with city council and the mayor's office. Nothing will be done out there without anyone knowing
I'm-
about it.
I'd like to sit down and talk first before we just,
Yeah, we haven't.
go ahead. I would like to be able to sit down with you and talk to you about your
I wanted to
plans.
set some
I
meeting
mean, I
with
just
the
don't
office.
want to go ahead and open the floodgate, and
Right.
I want to know what's going on and be able to talk and discuss it. And I know what Aaron still didn't really explain what that was all about. The guy come to City Hall here, says, okay, I'll tell you what, you sell us the pines, I will buy it from you. I know all the connections, how to rehab it, I know where to get all the grants. I will rehab it for you, and then I will come back to you and sell it back to you, all rehabbed. That's how that conservancy plan was set up.
Right.
So we were going to sell it at the reduced rate, have him fix it, and then we were gonna buy it back at a
actually, it
higher rate.
they were donating it back as long as we could prove whoever it was could take it over. That was the original. I do
Well,
not know
Not when
what,
I was on, it wasn't.
and that's what they didn't explain to us that night. That's why we all said no. And he's like, no, what it is it's a donation back because it's all grant money, but it has to be that you can take care of it. So if you can't take care of it, which the mayor kept saying we couldn't, then it would go to some other group. Which is why we got Crawford Parks into the conversation as well.
Which I got
because-
that ball rolling myself
We're-
too. I
yes.
spoke to Josh Dyer myself,
And Ray has been really working on this a lot. Like, this is a labor of love for
But
him. This is something
the
that,
things I'm hearing about selling it isn't to the conservancy, it's local.
it was to locals, but there's nobody,
And I said it once before, any money we make from selling that, I'm gonna say it again, it'll just be pissed away. So selling the pines isn't gonna benefit Bucyrus one bit. Keeping the pines, I think is gonna be more of a benefit than selling the pines.
Well, what I would like to see you do is come and sit down with us and sit down with Dylan Wyatt from McKeever and Associates, because we're gonna have to have him involved.
Right, to get
He
the
has to be a part of the
property lines and
equation.
stuff.
We can get ahold of him whenever you're able to come and see us.
Which I've seen maps and I know where things are, but
But
I understand.
what we're talking about is that we have to make sure that, I know that there's like, what, 13,000 acres that area, that 13,000 acres of farm ground actually
Right.
drain into that right now as we speak.
right.
And so, is there a possibility that we have to, right now, it's just like a big swamp out there.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it the Pines Marsh, basically.
And so,
But it's not as
okay,
wet
a
as you
marsh,
think.
but
Don't think
in
that.
the meantime, though, there was some discussion that I've heard that possibly there would have to be a channel created to help with the environment out there. There used to be at one time, before the reservoir actually was flooded, before it was built, there was actually a stream that went through there.
Kind of like it went back to now. There's a little stream runs through there.
Right, but I have the understanding that, I haven't been out there yet, so I can't really speak for what I haven't seen yet.
It's a little stream running through the middle. You can walk right up to it. It's not a smart, you don't sink in the mud. It's not muck or anything like that. Just a little stream running through what used to be the reservoir.
Well, let's sit down and talk together. You, me, and Tommy, and Dylan from McKeever's, and
I'd like
put
to
our
do
heads together and see what we can do.
Bruce, I would like to be in that as well.
Do I want to see it sold? No, I don't want to see it sold. I was one of the naysayers that said, no, we're not going to sell it. You know, I think it's a gem that needs to stay part of Bucyrus, surrounding areas. I mean,
So I just
surely
wanted to
we
make
can
sure I
find
wasn't wasting
something.
my time coming up here again tonight, but
Well, you're not wasting your time, because it's not going, I believe in it as well as you. I'd like to see something done.
can I contact your office then and we'll set
Sure.
up some time to get together?
Sure,
Not tonight, I'll get a hold of you.
sure.
I know, I don't want to bombard everybody as soon as you get up here, so I'm kind
Yeah,
of
no.
sitting back. and-
4 days in,
Right. I'm trying not to
Or
be too
Ray,
big
you
of a
can
pain,
give-
but I'll get
If you want to give me
contact
your
with
phone
office
number
then.
off-site,
What's that?
give me your phone number offline, I'll call you.
Okay.
And I can set, are you able to come in the daytime?
No.
Okay. It'd
But
have
I
to be,
can, I can
in-
get back in town right about 3 o'clock before you guys go home and everything, so.
oh, it is before we go home. Well, then that's daytime.
I'll be up here
If
before
it's
you go
before
home.
5:30, it's daytime. Okay, but yeah, we could, let us get hold of Dylan and see when he can meet with us. And we'll try to get that on the calendar, maybe even early as next week,
Sounds good.
so.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir.
No problem. Okay. Do we have any more public participation? All right. Next, we're going to need to do a vice chair. Everybody's new.
That's not, that's gonna nominate.
Like everybody's new.
That's gonna nominate.
All right, so, anybody else? All right, so,
I'll take it.
I would say,
Well, I don't care who you choose, but I'll take it too.
Rock, paper, scissors.
oh, yes.
Whoever you choose is fine with me.
All right, so we'll do Zion as vice chair, just because he said it first. We're skipping the meeting minutes because we've got that taken care of. Open projects list, I would like you guys to look over it and see if you see things that look completely ridiculously outdated as fresh eyes. And we'll scratch those off during the next meeting, hopefully. Do we have anything else that we needed to bring up this evening?
Not that I can think of.
That's what I see.
Okay, then I will go ahead and adjourn at 6:42 PM.
Platting Committee will,
She'll introduce you.
go for it.
Platting Committee, January 4th, 2024.
Platting Committee will start at 6:45. On the Platting Committee, we have Carolyn Sharman, Aaron Sherrick, Vicki Dishon, James Mead, Chair. Any public participation? So we have the BBSA appointments.
Right.
Sean.
I was just going to do a motion.
Pursuant to the code, the council has to appoint 5 members of the BZA in staggered terms, so obviously you have 1 to appoint now, and then also a member of this committee has to be on the BZA, and whoever's on the BZA also, by our own council rules, or not council rules, but ordinances, would also be on the BBSA. So basically, I guess you need 2 appointments tonight,
Right.
which Ms. Dishon was already all top of.
I move for the appointment of Harry Lipscomb to a 4-year term beginning retroactively to January 1, 2024, and ending December 31st, 2027, to the Board of Zoning Appeals and to the Board of Building Standards and Appeals. And the appointment of James Mee, council representative, to a 2-year term beginning retroactively to January 1, 2024, and ending December 31, 2025, to the Board of Zoning Appeals and to the Board of Building Standards and Appeals as an emergency.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yes, aye.
I don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Huh?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor, right?
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Okay.
Jim,
Hey, yeah? What did
if
you want?
I may say something, I know I've expressed my concern, as I know people in the public have, on, they feel that council, committees, what have you, ask for legislation as an emergency more often than should be done. I'd like to explain the reasoning here for this being an emergency is if we did not pass this appointment of Mr. Lipscomb and yourself to these 2 boards, if we passed it as a regular piece of legislation, we would have a first reading on January the 16th. We would have a second reading on February the 6th. The third reading and assumed passage would happen on February the 20th. And then 30 days from that date is when the law, or is when the piece of legislation becomes law, which would be March 21st. Well, the chances of there being a Board of Zoning Appeals or Board of Building Standards meeting between now and March 21st,
It's rather high.
yeah, and so I just want the public to understand that's why I ask for this as an emergency, because of this time frame that would occur if it wasn't passed as an emergency.
It's an excellent point.
Thank you.
So now, pro tem, any volunteers?
I can do it if you want.
You got it. Aaron's pro tem. Open projects. Anybody?
Nothing at this time. What do you have?
I just happened to be up here today, and John Ross was putting a meeting together with Omni Fiber, and it just happened to be in my wheelhouse, which is platting. The new company's been removed. We have a new company coming in and running the lines. Their Frost Line is their name. They should be done by May. They're going to start with 4 drilling machines, and they're going to add 2 more if everything works out. The people that were at this was Lisa Stuckman, Tommy Sarner, Bruce Truca, Jeff Dunn, the water guy was here too. He was concerned about busting water lines and all that, so. But these guys look pretty confident, they seem confident, so hopefully they'll be out of here by May, weather forgiving. And, is that it? Public participation. Meeting adjourned at 6:50.
Economic Development Committee, January 4th, 2024.
I'll call to order economic development at 6:52. Members present are Carolyn Shireman, Christopher Moritz, Vicki Dishon, and myself, Zion Hickman, Chair. Do I have any public participation?
Kevin Myers, 421 West Oakwood. The reason that I had requested this be moved to committee for discussion, just in case anybody was unaware, at the previous council, at the start of that 2-year council term, we had authorized the service director and mayor to enter into a contract with the partnership, and some of the requirements of that, we set it for a 2-year to coincide with the council terms, and we had certain requirements, like we got a quarterly update from the partnership and things like that. I just wanted to bring that history to you so that you knew why this was before you tonight.
Thank you. You want to update them on what's been going on between now and then? Are they getting quarterly updates?
Yeah, we're getting emails weekly.
Yes,
and
that's on the agenda for this committee.
Yeah.
I do have things I printed out and handed out before we started the committees from the partnership, I think the team reports and the quarter 4 report.
very pleased with the response we're getting
Yes,
from the job they're doing.
Mr. Chair, I've received an email from his assistant, and he's given me dates of when he's going to come and speak at council meetings for his quarterly updates.
And I was going to speak on that as well. He's coming to council on the 16th, correct?
Yes.
For a quarterly report?
Yes,
Or-
it'll be first quarter, I believe.
Okay, so I'm just going to head and skip the minutes because we need to do other things for that. For the partnership papers that I handed out, I have team reports 48 through 51. I did not read 50 and 51. I read 48 and 49. I also skimmed through a good majority of the quarter 4 report. I'll give those to you guys to read over, and if you have any questions for David Zach when he comes for the next council meeting, have those ready for him. Moving on to ordinance 34, 2019.
So in the previous,
Oh, right.
You would want to ask for legislation to enter into a new contract.
Authorize
them to enter into a new contract.
So do I just say, like, can I request, or?
You're asking for a motion from your committee to authorize the service director and mayor to enter into a new 2-year contract on partnership.
Can I request legislation for the administration to enter in a new 2-year contract with the partnership?
Now, is this a contract that's for $50,000? That's a point we want to make.
Yeah.
Yes, for $50,000.
Retroactive to January 1st.
Retroactive to January 1st, as an emergency.
Okay, who's on this committee? You gonna make me do this?
I don't even know what's going on, so I'm not saying anything.
I just need a motion.
Vicki, come on.
Okay, I hereby move that we enter into a 2-year contract with the Crawford, and is that the proper name, Crawford Partnership?
Yeah.
With the Crawford Partnership
CCDP, I think so.
for $50,000. And that would be a 2-year contract retroactive to January 1, 2024, and ending December 31, 2025.
Point of clarification, that's 50,000 per year.
Yes.
50,000 per year.
And authorizing them
Okay, let's start over again.
to, authorizing the administration to enter into it.
Okay. I hereby move that we authorize the administration, and would it be the administration or would it be the service safety director?
I think he words it either or, and or.
The mayor
Okay.
and or the service safety director.
So what do you want me to say? The administration?
Mhm.
That'll cover
Yep,
it?
that
Okay.
covers it.
Third time's a charm. I
We're still
hereby
figuring it out.
move that we enter into, or no, that we authorize the administration to enter into a 2-year contract with the Crawford Partnership, retroactive to January 1, 2024, and ending December 31, 2025, for $50,000 per year as an emergency.
We have a second?
I second.
Now, let me ask a question. Why would that need to be an emergency?
To allow them to sign the contract so they can get working for us and we can get their payment to them.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
All right.
Did somebody second that?
Yes.
Yeah, Carolyn did.
Shireman.
Oh, okay.
All right.
And then it's all in favor to ask for the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes. Moving on to the open projects list, I have yet to look at a majority of this, but looking at all the dates, these need to be looked at. We have, the first one that really strikes my eye is we have a lot of annexations from 2015 to 2016. Do we know anything further about those, or?
What was that?
The annexations from 2016.
But yes, we would like to proactively annex as much as possible.
So just leave those ones in there then?
I mean, I think that it's probably, at this point, there's nothing actively, other than my office is working with the water department to add a contract, so anybody that has new service, a new user to the water department would sign an agreement saying that if they're ever able to and contiguous to the city of Bucyrus, they would consent to be annexed, and or they would put that, if they ever sold, that would become a deed restriction in any sale. But I don't think that at this point there's any actively properties that we're looking to bring in at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was daydreaming.
I will look these over, and as hopes that everyone else on the committee does as well, to discuss what needs to be taken off, what should stay, and we'll do that for the next committee meeting. Mr. Fankhauser?
Kurt Fankhauser, 616 Prospect. That thing you just mentioned, Brian, on the deed restriction for when somebody gets hooked up on water, was that if they got water only, or if they got sewer and water, that deed restriction would be put on? Because I think
it's any
you can-
utility.
What's that?
I think it's any utility.
Because I think in the past, I think Bruce got, do you know anything about this, Bruce?
Yeah, as far as what was on the, what's actually on the books, is if you got water and you got sewer, then it was mandatory that you had to annex into the city. The problem was, it was never enforced by past administrations.
Whoa. Yeah.
So that would make sense to me. What Bruce said is, if you had both the sewer and the water, but are you saying that somebody out in Sulphur Springs or any along that route that's going to sign up with water, you're going to ask them to put a deed restriction on? That if they ever became contiguous to Bucyrus, that like potentially Sulphur Spring is going to be annexed in here, or?
We're aggressively
Is there a-
going after Sulphur Springs.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, because I don't want my phone to be ringing saying, what's this I hear you guys are putting deed restrictions going all the way out on water lines going to Nevada, and
We would like to take over
you
Nevada
actually
as well.
want to do that?
No, Kurt.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of other qualifications that you would have to first qualify for. We would have to look at it, but that was what the discussion was, putting deed restrictions and making people signing up in those neighborhoods that are not currently annexed into Crawford, or into the city of Bucyrus, so that if they were ever otherwise able to. But it's not just as simple as them agreeing to annex as well. You have to have all kinds of negotiations with, it would be Whetstone Township, it would be Bucyrus Township, Holmes Township. These are not just cut and dry. If you ever become able, you get to come in. Those are significant, lengthy discussions and negotiations. So you're just laying
So
the groundwork.
Are you going to pick and choose which people that get the water, who's going to have to sign this deed restriction, or do you even know that part yet?
So any new customer would sign it at this point? Yeah, absolutely. Any new
So
customer.
any new customer that could be all the way out on the county line over there by Wyandotte County going into Nevada
That's the way our
would
statute.
sign a deed restriction
That's the way our statute reads, absolutely. Or ordinance.
for water only, not including sewer.
Absolutely.
That just, something doesn't sound right about
Should
that
you
to me.
someday be actually contiguous? Hey.
Something doesn't seem right with that. We'll have to talk about that, Ryan.
Well, I'm just saying what the current ordinance is.
I thought the current ordinance was sewer and water. I thought, Bruce, didn't that what it said? You had to have both before the deed restriction was.
One thing that I did want to talk about before we moved on from open projects was the County Tourism Bureau. Is that still going on? Do we have, yes?
The Tourism Bureau was absorbed by the Chamber of Commerce about 2 years ago. They get 50% of our bed tax that's collected, the other 50% goes into the general fund.
Okay.
That's by state law.
But I spoke with Becky.
Yeah.
I can't think of what her last name is, but spoke with her a couple weeks ago, and she informed me that the Tourism Bureau is starting back up.
I
In
did
fact,
remember you said something about that.
Maybe 2 weeks ago or a week ago, they were having their first meeting, and she said she would get with me to arrange a time to have them come to council and talk. But she said they were really excited that, yes,
Aside from the chamber again,
yes, it's outside. Yeah, they'll be their own.
and if they kept their same bylaws from when I was there, a member of council is serve on their board.
Right, and I mentioned that to her, and that's why I went to speak with her, because that was one of the subcommittee appointments. But we all thought that the tourism was no longer,
That's where
and,
the chamber absorbed them.
yeah, and she said, nope.
Don't they have to bring that back to us in a separate? Amber Wortman, who's on that board?
Oh.
She had talked to Rebecca also, because they're very tight network there. And they're working on sending me a copy of who's all on that board. And I can
Great.
Get that updated, so.
Awesome.
That's, if I could, that's also another thing that
Kevin.
has to, yeah, you're right. That's another thing that you guys will have to do, is do a contract with them.
Right.
For the, or just an ordinance approving the 50% bed
Bed
tax. By
tax,
Ohio law, 50% of it at minimum has to go to a tourism-related thing. And it's always been the case, but it has to be renewed. This council decides where that goes, and it's always been to the Tourism Bureau.
Yep.
I will write that down on this so I know for when it comes up what to do with it.
Sion?
Yeah.
We overlooked ordinance number 34-2019.
Yeah, that's Aaron.
So, we did, I'll speak briefly. Back in 2019, inadvertently in Section 7, they included the Tax Incentive Review Board members as the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council. So what this council would need to do is ask for legislation, which I don't think it would need to meet an emergency, but you guys can decide that amongst yourselves. But ask for legislation amending ordinance number 34, 2019, section 7, to reflect that the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council is composed of 2 members as appointed by the mayor, 2 members appointed by the legislative authority, which would be council, and 1 member appointed by the Planning Commission. And then obviously, moving forward, then that committee of 5 would appoint 2 more members of its own body, not of its own body, but out of their own grouping. So what we were asking, and Mrs. Dishon brought this up, found this error, correcting the ordinance to correctly reflect who should be appointed on that board.
Okay. Is that something that we would need to move forward, or is that council as a whole?
This committee would ask for legislation.
Yeah, we would ask for legislation.
We try to make sure this is right. Ask for legislation to amend section 7 of ordinance 34, 2019. But I have to give the appointments from the mayor and from council.
So you could indicate that you need a motion to amend ordinance number 34, 2019, specifically section 7, to populate the Community Reinvestment Area Housing Council as set forth in section 3735.69A1 of the Ohio Revised Code. I thought that was a lot easier until I said it.
Yeah, I'm sitting here like,
Okay.
yeah. Request a motion for whatever Brian's.
No, I don't like that.
No, I know you don't.
Can you write it down?
I mean, if you're okay to make the motion. This
Okay,
is what we're doing.
I hereby move that we amend section 7 of ordinance number 34-2019 to reflect the appointment of the individuals to the CRA Housing Council per Ohio Revised Code section 3735.69A1. I personally don't think it needs to be an emergency. I can't see that we're going to have a CRA application.
Seldomly used.
Yeah, at any time soon. Do you have a second?
Was that okay? Did
That's
I?
perfect.
I second.
All right. I forgot to do that yet.
All in favor?
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye. What? Wasn't I supposed to vote?
No,
Yes.
Oh, because I made the motion, I don't vote?
No, you do vote.
No, you did.
I was waiting for Carolyn to vote.
Oh, I vote. I thought only needed 2. I see. This is gonna be fun.
No, we're still figuring it out. It's fine. We'll get it
I
eventually.
know, just laugh.
We're just starting out. We're getting our bearings here. Moving on to public participation. Seeing none, I will adjourn at 7:12 p.m.
Finance Committee, January 4th, 2024.
Call a Finance Committee to order at 7:12 PM. Members present are James Meek, Christopher Moritz, Vicki Dishon, and Kevin Myers, Chair. Is there any public participation for Finance? Seeing none. Mr. Mee, would you be willing to serve as the Vice Chair?
Sure.
Mr. Moritz, any objection?
No.
Ms. Dishon, any objection?
No.
All right. We're going to skip over these minutes until we take care of those individually outside of this committee first. OPWC appropriations, Ms. Lewis.
This is actually Mr. Gernert.
Oh, Mr. Gernert.
Based upon a reading of the Ohio Revised Code, Mr. Fankhauser had brought to my attention to pass anything and dispense with the 3 readings, you need 75%. even though our rules are on, most of our rules require 2/3. To dispense with readings, you need 75%. When we had that special meeting at the end of December, we only had 5/7, which would be 71%. So I would ask this committee to ask for legislation ratifying and affirming that piece of legislation, which I don't remember the number.
Can this committee do that since it was already passed out of another committee and hasn't been referred back to this committee as it's already passed?
It has been referred back. That's what they do.
Okay. That's what I was
We
asking.
would, yeah, we
Okay.
would ratify and affirm the previous council's.
Would we do that by legislation or just?
It would be another
okay.
piece of legislation,
All right.
yeah.
So I'm asking for a motion for emergency legislation ratifying and approving the actions of the previous council with the OPWC appropriations.
Yes.
I have a first by Mr. Moritz
Couldn't get the words coming up.
Second.
and a second by Mr. Me. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. That motion carries. Any open projects that anybody wants to discuss? My take on that is let's do the same thing all the other committees have said, and let's read through these on our own over the next 2 weeks, and we will go through them and make your notes on things you think should be removed, and then we'll just go line by line and chuck them all and then start over from scratch.
This is a new year,
But I did ask the administration, I'm going to ask you, Ms. Lewis, on finance, can you look through them and let me know any that you feel should be left alone?
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think if there's the ones that the administration and the auditor want left on there, the rest of them, honestly, Mr. Meek could come right off of there, and we'll go back from scratch. So I'm going to put the burden on those two offices, and we'll address those in 2 weeks. Is there any further public participation for the Finance Committee this evening? Seeing none, we will adjourn at 7:15 p.m.